Hello! Come walk with me today while I share part 2 of my teaching journey with you, the part that's my career experience. And you may notice I'm wearing a USA shirt today, and I got this shirt for $5 at Costco, I don't know, a year or so ago. I pretty much only wear it like as an at-home shirt or like for the 4th of July, but I thought it was fitting for this video since the career part of my teaching journey happened in the USA. So let's get into it. I came back from Costa Rica, like I said, right before Thanksgiving, and then I graduated in December. And the school year starts here where I live in August. So already kind of was thinking, what am I gonna do? Because the school year's already started. And I knew I needed a job, and I knew I wanted to get experience specifically in the schools like that I would work in, or at least the district. So I didn't mention this in the last video, but while I was in college, I did work briefly at a private like daycare preschool kind of school in their after school care, and I worked with like their pre-K to kindergarten level students. So I did have a little experience there, which I think probably helped me get the job I got after I graduated, which was working in after school in one of the districts. It wasn't, I mean, it was a district that I lived close to, but the district's really big. So the actual school was, oh man, like 45 minutes away. And after school care workers, they don't make a lot of money. So I'll go ahead and say I was really fortunate that I had someone like mostly paying the bills and supporting me at that time, because I would not be making enough as an after school care worker to really pay for much of anything. So grateful. But anyway, during that time, I also was thinking like, what other job can I get? Because I'm thinking I need more experience in this and I need more money with this. So I started looking into supply positions, and if you don't know what that is, it's like a long-term sub. In my previous video, I mentioned that my 3rd grade teacher was out on maternity leave, and so basically that could be some reason that a teacher would be out and need a long-term sub. And that's actually what happened. I found a job in a 3rd grade classroom. It was a departmentalized school, at least for 3rd, 4th, and 5th, which I ended up really liking that because I taught reading and writing, which are my favorite subjects to teach. So that worked out. I'd not been in 3rd grade before, so that was cool. And I thought, you know, this is probably a good grade level. They're like independent, but they're still like cutesy, and I think stickers are fun. So that was good. I was able to observe in her classroom, like, I don't know, maybe like 2 weeks before she actually went out on maternity leave. So I thought that was good. Gave me a chance to get to know the students, so it wasn't like I just randomly showed up and like one day like, hi, you don't know me, but I'm your teacher for the next like month or 2. So that was good. And the school was a lot closer to my house than the one I had been working in the after school program for, so that was also a bonus. And I was really excited about that experience. It turned out to be really challenging. I am fortunate that, like, I guess you wouldn't really call it a co-teacher because we weren't teaching in class together, but the teacher, the partner teacher maybe, I don't know what you call the other teacher. It was a teacher on my team, and she's the one who taught the math, science, social studies. So like she had a homeroom and I had a homeroom, and then I taught my homeroom the reading and writing. She taught her homeroom math, science, social studies. Then we switched like halfway during the day. She was like super supportive, really nice. So I'm really grateful for that. The students though, some of them, I mean just a handful, not very many, maybe like 3 or 4 of them were really challenging. Well, they had really challenging behaviors, let's say. I think part of it was the fact that their teacher, who they had a connection with and loved, like had to leave. I mean, she had to go, what could she do? And they kind of took that out on me. It wasn't their fault, it wasn't my fault, but they don't get that, they're young. I also think the fact that I had come from a student teaching experience where like there weren't really behavior issues at the school I student taught at. Like everything was just like calm and chill, and like I said, I got spoiled. So it was a really challenging, like I think it was just like 2 months for me. But one of the students, like towards the very end, actually ended up stealing my phone. And the way I found out about that is because I had my phone out, like not like during the day just for funsies, but I was doing reading assessments because it was like towards the end of a school year. So you have to like get your students' most current reading level, and you have to time it oftentimes. And the one I was doing required you to time it. So I just used the timer on my phone. So I was doing the reading assessments, and like had left my phone like out on the teacher desk at the end of the day as we're like packing up, trying to get to the bus. And this classroom used Class Dojo, which is a point system. Some teachers give and take points, some teachers only give points. So many things you can do with Class Dojo. I love Class Dojo. You can also communicate on it, and it looks like kind of like a board, like think about Facebook. How you can see all your friends and family stuff they do. It could be specific to your classroom, so only the parents and students could sign up with a code, and they could see like any pictures, any announcements that you put up. Like it was great for building community. Anyway, so this teacher used Class Dojo, and so I had it up on the big screen because you could count up your points. I don't remember if she had like prizes. I don't know what you did with the points in her class, but there was this one student who was in the negative, like red, because it used to show up red for negative and green for positive. Well, the kids were on the bus, and I was in the classroom with like a few, just like the last few kids, like they were waiting to go to after school or something, or their bus hadn't been called yet. And all of a sudden we kept hearing this like ding, 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 like over and over and over. And I'm like, what is going on? And then we saw on the board that was connected to the computer that a student was suddenly out of the red of their Class Dojo and turning green. They were getting a lot of positive points, and I'm like, how is this happening? Like, what's going on? Because that Class Dojo account was shared with that like partner teacher, so I'm like, is someone in that room like on that teacher's computer doing this? But it wasn't. And then I'm like, where's my phone? And I couldn't find it. So yeah, so as that student had stolen my phone, and I just felt really violated. Like that was my first taste of like disbelief that a kid, a third grader, would do that. I don't know why. In my mind, I'm like, third graders are innocent. They're like 8 or 9, 7, 8 or 9, depending on your birthday. I'm like, you know, they're not gonna do that. But oh, they will. I learned quickly, they will. So I contacted, you know, like the assistant principal, and I knew which student it was because of the points. They had given themselves points. They had taken away points from someone they didn't get along with. Like they were out for revenge. But that student lived with their grandmother. I'm not sure where. I wasn't really privy to the information of where their parents were, but that could have also obviously contributed to some of their challenging behavior, just because their parents weren't around. But the grandmother was like, I checked all this stuff, I don't see anything, I don't think they have it, just on and on and on. And I'm like, this is just unbelievable. The next day was field day, and when that student arrived, the assistant principal had him like out in the hall, like she was waiting to chat with him in the hall. And at night at that school, you'd put your trash cans in the hall. The custodian would take it, empty it, and you would have like an empty trash by your door to pull it in the morning. And suddenly my phone was in the trash. Like that student was like, oh look, isn't that their phone here? Like as they were talking to the principal, because they had taken it out of their bag and put it there. So I got my phone back, that was great. But that student got to participate for like half the field day, I think. And that really bothered me, and that should have been my first red flag. Because I'm like, really? I mean, it was clear that they stole my phone, and they only got a little punishment, and they still got to come to field day, and I just didn't think that was fair. It was not up to me, of course, so what could I do? But I feel like that might have should have been my first clue. But I think I just thought to myself, you know, these circumstances won't be the same for every class I ever have, you know, and I just kind of let it go. So this long-term sub job took me through the end of the school year pretty much. And then I started looking for jobs. Now at this time, the economy was basically out of the recession, but like earlier days of it, I would say. So jobs were there, but they were still scarce, and I didn't have a lot of experience versus like other teachers who maybe just wanted to switch schools or who were moving or whatever. So I did some interviews and such, but I wasn't getting offered a job. And I was like, what am I gonna do? I can't wait a whole another school year. And I'd applied at a fair amount of districts. Like where I lived was like close to where some districts kind of, you know, like touched. So I applied for a lot of places. And then someone was like, oh, did you apply for this like city school district? And I was like, oh, you know, no, I didn't even know that this district existed. So I ended up applying to a kindergarten position because if you remember, I had done field experience in kindergarten. So I was like, okay, I can actually speak to some stuff for kindergarten, and I liked it. And I'm like, you know, all right. And now at this point, it was maybe like early to mid-ish July. And teachers where I live have to go back like toward like, I think it's like the last week or so of July when you go and like start prepping for your room and all that. So I applied and I waited. And I don't remember the exact timeline, but I got called in for an interview. So I went, and I ended up being late because the name of the school, or the name of the school is actually also the name of the road it was on, but there was also an east version of that road, and so when I had GPS'd it, I had sent myself to the wrong location. Luckily it wasn't far and I was only a little late and I was able to explain, but I'm like, well, this is a great first impression. But I had my interview with the assistant principal. The principal was out of town, and she walked me down and showed me the classroom. And I like had like a really quick look, so it wasn't anything like I couldn't like see like, oh, I would need XYZ. Like I was just like, peek through the door, here it is kind of thing. And then I left, and I don't know if it was the same day or a day or two later, or a week later, again, I don't recall the timeline exactly, but I got a call asking me to come back and interview with a team. And this team was made up of, I think it was 4 other teachers, 2 teachers who used to be on the kindergarten team but were moving up to 1st grade, and 2 teachers who were still gonna be on that kindergarten team. So I remember feeling very nervous, and I was very intimidated by all these teachers who had been doing this for a few years or many years, but they were all really kind, and I'm grateful for that. And actually, I'm still friends with at least 2 of them, so that's good. But I remember they asked me about phonics, and I didn't get a lot of information about phonics when I was in college. Like, it was a section in a course about reading, right? But it wasn't like a whole thing, which now that I've taught kindergarten through 2nd grade, it probably really should be further explored, shall I say. But I didn't really have a good answer, and I'm like, oh man, I probably just blew it. And I remember being really bummed about that because I'm like, oh, I kind of like this place. So finished my interview with them, went on home, and pretty quickly heard back that I got the job. And I was so excited. The only problem was I hadn't worked for a few months because it had been summer. And so I was low on money, and I'm like, how am I gonna put a classroom together with no money? And I still don't know how I did. The other problem was school at this point was gonna be starting in like a week, like 1 week. And if you've ever taught, if you are a teacher or if you know a teacher, it can take a long time to get a room prepared, especially if you're moving classrooms or new to a school. So, as I said, I only had a very quick view of the room that day. And as a little background, that school was about to celebrate their like 75th anniversary. So it was an old school. And the kindergarten, they called it a kindergarten, like, I guess it's a hallway. It was really a kindergarten hallway. The school was almost set up like in the shape of a capital E. But the kindergarten hallway was like the newer part of the building, but when I say newer, it wasn't new. So anyway, I finally got down to my room, which was at the very end of a decently long hallway. And I went in there, and there were 4 big rectangle tables in the center of the room with tons of stuff on them, like tons. Baskets and bins and books and manipulatives, and I mean, there was so much stuff. And I was like, I don't know where to start. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know what I needed. I didn't know what to keep. I didn't know what I could throw away, because later I found out, for whatever reason, I mean, this school had an inventory sheet going back so far of all these like books and like teacher resources, and you had to store them, and they were like back from when I was in elementary school. It was a lot. It was a lot to go through. And I'm very grateful because I had 2 really close friends who were not teachers. They're just my friends, and they came and helped me go through a lot of it. And like, they helped me make, all the teachers in the kindergarten hallway had a huge like door decoration. I don't mean like when you see like people decorate their door, like they had stuff around the door. I actually have a picture, I'll insert it on here, show you what mine looked like. But someone had like this huge ladybug. Someone had like these palm trees and zoo animals. Someone had this big purple bear. Someone had like this whole beach theme, and I had nothing. And the teachers who I told you interviewed me that were leaving kindergarten, they did offer me, I think somebody offered me a frog. I don't remember what the other teacher had, but it was like this big, I don't know if it was made of cardboard, like cardboard paper. Like it was this huge thing, and I didn't even know how to hang it up. So even though I was very grateful that they offered me that, I'm like, I don't even know how to put this up, for one. And also, I'm like, I don't even know what theme, because as a teacher, if you're not a teacher watching this, classrooms often have themes, and I had no idea what I wanted to do. I think I had all these ideas in my head from looking at like Pinterest or seeing like other teachers' rooms, but the reality was I was in a very old building with furniture that was falling apart, with things that didn't match, and I did not have money to make it magical. So I did the best I could. I ended up going with an owl theme. I just thought like that could be probably cute, and I could find stuff pretty easily for that. So for my door, I made it like a big tree, and like the door was like the hole in the trunk that like an owl might live in, and I had little owls on branches. I mean, it turned out cute for how quick it had to get put up, and no one told me I had to do it. But I just, and I didn't do it to try to keep up with the Joneses, to keep up with the other teachers. I did it because, like I mentioned, my room was the last room on the hallway, and kindergartners, like a lot of, or at least the ones at that school, had never been to preschool. There was like maybe 2 or 3 from each class who had actually been to preschool. So this was their first experience at school, and I'm like, they're gonna get lost. They need something to like ground them and help them find their way to their classroom. And I was like, think about all of these kindergarten babies who are gonna walk down this long hallway and see all these doors decorated, and then ours not be decorated. Like, absolutely not.
Sorry for the abrupt cutoff, but this story took longer than expected, and I will be releasing part 3 next week. Thanks for walking with me today. Bye.